Hi there! Every week on the Soggy Rabbit live stream I show a demonstration of how to do a portrait, and it's all mixed up with some fun stuff and shout outs, but I also save this video which is the full real-time demonstration of how to do the portrait. So here it is. So this was the finished picture, and in this video now where you are is where I will show you from start to finish how to do this picture. So I'll take you through all the tools I use, the pencils, the pens, and all the techniques, and we'll learn some really interesting things which I hope will be useful for you, for your drawing, whatever you're drawing. So it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot slower than the live one. So if you want to check out the live one, I'll pop it up here, okay? Right, but for people who are really interested in the art and the drawing, this is the video for you, okay? So this is to show you the slow time, the real-time drawing process for Tilda's Nonny, and I'm going to start with just showing you the materials. I use a soft pencil to sketch out the shape. I've got grey paper and a mount card. This is so the picture is going to be A5, and after that I'm going to use, once I've got it sketched out, I'm going to use a traditional dipping pen, putty rubber to rub out the pencil, and then I've got assorted coloured pencils to use for Nonny's features. So I can tell you a little bit about Nonny. He belongs to Tilda, and he lives with Tilda and Geoffrey. And Nonny is a bit of a worrier. I've got some information about Nonny here, which I'll bore you with later. Right, so always start with the big shapes and mentally reserve an area at the bottom for the title. And I will finish this picture off in the live stream on Wednesday night, which you'd be very welcome to join, and there I will check in with Tilda what she wants on the title and just finish those final details. So I kind of use the reference photo. This is really exactly the same techniques that I would use for a portrait of a dog or a person. So I'm just mapping out the big shapes, doing lots of squinting. And not worrying too much, because obviously this is going to be erased, and nice soft pencils which are great for not leaving dents in the paper. Oh, hi there! Pluviophili, thank you for joining. I'm really new to Twitch, so excuse me if I seem a bit clueless. Right, so these are just working out some landmarks and looking for what we call, in traditional drawing, we call rhythms. So I'm looking for, imagining there's a line behind Nonny's head just connecting those ears, so to make sure that they're not like skew. So all the techniques that I'm going to be using for this drawing are kind of fine art techniques and quite normal, whether you're drawing or painting, oil paintings and things like that. They pretty much all start with some broad squinting and measuring if you want to get it realistic. So I'm looking at the shapes and trying to compare the shape of the Nonny's chest here, looking at sort of volumes, and there's Nonny's muzzle. So Nonny is a big worrier. Apparently Nonny harbours the worries for the whole family, and I think Nonny does look a bit worried. So on Wednesday's show we're going to be doing, it's kind of aimed at sort of all ages but more entertaining for children than this. This is more of an art kind of thing. So our theme is going to be worrying's okay. I don't know if you're a worrier. You can tell me what you worry about. I need to think of some things to talk about in the show. And then at the end of the show, I save the full video on my YouTube channel, so people can access the drawing. So it's meant to be kind of accessible traditional drawing skills, as well as fun. We do like shout outs and things, a bit of calligraphy. Right. So Nonny, I think, has done good service through lockdown in the UK. Like many people, Nonny's been off school. So I'm just squinting, looking, comparing, like you would if you were doing a figure, comparing this gap here from there to there, and then from there to there, and on down. I can be a bit creative with the shapes because obviously it's a soft toy, so it's not that critical. And I'm going to make those feet a little bit bigger so they come forward. Do you draw? Are you an artist, or are you just interested in watching? It's always nice to know what people like. Some people just like to watch it, and other people are just trying to learn stuff. If you want to ask me any questions, you're really welcome. Right, so Nonny, not only does Nonny worry for all the family, Nonny lives with Sadie the panda apparently, and the family have tried to help Nonny not worry so much, but they found out he's allergic to medicine to make him less worried. It makes his legs swell up. And he's worried about going out, he's agoraphobic, and he's scared of the dog as well. So basically he does all the worrying for the family, which means they don't have to. So he's a bit of a favourite. I think he performs a very useful function. Oh, you learn as well. Oh, well, I hope this is useful for you. I'm a big fan of traditional techniques. I think even if you do Procreate and stuff like that, it's still really good to know. So I'm looking now, there's a slight angle on the eyes. I don't know if you can see that in the reference photo. So I need to bring that eye up. And because I'm going to rub this out, this is going to take probably an hour start to finish. Because I'll be rubbing out the pencil after, I'll get another go with the ink so I can have a second go at getting the proportions right. And that's something you notice a lot when you look at very accomplished artists. They don't always get it right first time. They get it close enough, and then they refine it. I'm using soft. It's a Mars Lumograph pencil. Very soft. It's 6B. And right, I'm wondering if, so I'm looking at the joints here, and I think Nonny's chin actually needs to come down a tiny bit to there. So I'm going to use my rubber. Okay, I'm going to put this on here and try and talk a bit louder, but tell me if that's not okay. And I can put it back in my hand. Right, that looks better. So Nonny is a polar bear. I think polar bears normally are quite fearless, but not in this case. Right, and I'm just looking at the width to the height. And I think also Nonny needs to be a tiny bit wider in the head department. So you can, when you're looking for, oh brilliant, thank you. When you're looking for, it's like a private drawing lesson. When you're trying to judge proportions, you can also look at the what we call the negative shapes, which is, so rather than trying to think about the shape of Nonny's head, which is a kind of egg shape, I'm imagining that this area here is actually a shape and looking at the way it curves, and that's a really good way to check your measuring and check what you've drawn. So I can look at this negative shape here and compare it with the photo. It doesn't look too bad. There. Okay, and here's a good tip. So if you use a putty rubber, what you can do, and you can do this when you're doing portraits like normal pencil drawings, you can rub it into a sausage shape like that, and then you can knock back the whole drawing like this. You can roll it over, and that's really good if you're drawing, if you're doing life drawing figures and things like that. You can there, so you get another go. Right. Okay, and so the next thing is I'm going to start using an ink pen. So this is a traditional dipping pen, and I'm using Dr. Martin ink, if you can see that. It's waterproof ink, and I have a rag at the ready in case I spill anything. So it's got a dropper, but I'm just going to dip the pen in it. So there's a, I don't know if you can see there, it's like a pipette. And then on the live show on a Wednesday, I finish it off with the title. So I always have a piece of paper at the side to check. Oh yeah, they're really good. They're so good. They're really cheap. You can just get those erasers in art shops. Do you know what, Phil? You are my first ever actual viewer who I don't know, who's not just a friend, who's come to watch my stream. Oh, you're in Indonesia. Wow. Well, I'm sure you can order them on the internet. They're very cheap. They're just called putty rubbers. Let me, I'll just type that in. So. That's what you ask for. They're cheap as chips. Okay, so now I've made sure it's not too blobby. I'm going to have a bit of consideration for where the light is coming from. So the light is coming from the right side in the photo, and I'm going to do the same. And therefore I tend to use slightly heavier lines on the left side, and bear in mind that the ink tends to come out thicker when the pen has just been dipped, although this one's not, probably run out. And it's a little bit high risk obviously using ink, because whereas, I don't know if you use Procreate, but when you're using things like Procreate, obviously you can just go back, but you can't. But I think that's quite a nice thing, because it means if you make a mistake, you just have to work with it. You can't be too precious. So I'm seeing this shape as very important to get right. The balance, you know, across Nonny's chest. I don't want to make Nonny look too broad or narrow. And trying to get the angle of the feet right, and they're beautifully overlapped, which I think is a nice, gives Nonny a nice kind of posture, the way the feet are slightly turned towards each other there. And when you're drawing stuff, it's just really good to kind of flick your eyes up and down between the picture. And some people draw, they make the reference photo the same size as what they're drawing. And there's a way you can do that when you're drawing in real life from a person as well, to do with where you stand. It's called sight size. Right, so if I just look at the distance from the chin to the groin there, and then I'm just going to work out where these trousers, these are slightly, I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Cowell, but they're slightly pulled up Simon Cowell trousers. Nonny, obviously, with all that worrying, pulls his trousers up very tight. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to dip my pen again. Right, I'm not going to do those stripes in pen. I'm going to do them in colour. I've got some red and stuff reserved for later. Right, so in terms of like a rhythm, I'm looking, I don't know if you can see that shoulder goes from there, but this shoulder is slightly higher, which is quite a nice characteristic. Again, it's like there's a slightly uneasy look. This the Tilda, whose toy this is a big fan of my show. She's my best fan, and she watches it with Nonny and with Sadie the Panda, who lives with Nonny. Okay, so now this is a bit of a critical bit, just getting that curve. So you can rehearse those lines before you touch the paper. And I'm going to do it slightly broken, particularly on this side, because I will later be going on with a lighter. Use one of these in a little while. So this can actually cover up the ink. So what time is it in? Oh, do you? Oh, you do calligraphy. Oh, that's really cool. Do you use a black pen or white? Because this one's white, but is it like a brush pen you use? I love calligraphy. It's so nice to hear that you do that. I'll just show you. So in the show, I do a bit of calligraphy. I do this sort of thing. That's it's not really hardcore calligraphy. It's just a bit of fun. So I just do it with some music and write people's names as shout outs. Just trying to encourage children to enjoy writing. Right, now I'm looking down, squinting like that is really useful. Or do you mean the black ink pen? Maybe you mean you use an ink pen like this. Right, I'm just trying to look at where, if that's halfway down Nonny's face. I do think Nonny's nose is about here. It is slightly asymmetrical. There we go, and I will fill this nose in later, but I don't want to put a big load of ink on there. And Nonny's got a slightly crooked, worried looking mouth, which is great. Okay. And now I'm imagining, again talking about rhythms, I'm imagining a line here, just to get the lower edge of the eyes symmetrical. So that's the trick that you use when you're doing portraits. You can look for that. Imagine you've got an arc, like a rainbow going across there. Oh, okay. Well, you're obviously able to type. Sorry, I'll slow down. I'm talking a bit fast. I was just talking about the rhythm, but I can type any words you want. So what do you normally watch on Twitch? Do you just watch art stuff, or do you watch gaming or other things? I'd be interested to know if there's anyone you recommend. Right. Please don't apologise though, I don't speak your language at all, so you're winning if you speak enough to type as well as you're typing. And I think Sadie has got slightly irregular eyes as well, which gives him a great character and a really worried look. Okay, now I'm just looking for some folds, so looking for the structure of the toy and the creases here. And I've got a little bit here going under there, the trousers. Okay, and again you have to imagine that going behind the leg so you can get that continuous line so it makes sense. In a minute, when I get the white pen out, we can get a lot more three-dimensional. Right, I'm just looking to check. I think I will widen that head with the white pen a little bit later, just looking to see if there's anything obvious that I've missed in terms of substantial marks that I need to put in. So there's a bit of a waistband going on here, which seems to be quite important. Okay, so next I'll just check with the mount card. There we go. I'm going to slow down my talking a little bit. I hope that helps, and I'll try and talk clearly. I can turn the music off if you want, as it's only you and me. I'll turn it off and see if that's better. Okay. Right. So next what I'm going to do is what we call the cast shadow. So it's not the form shadow where something turns away, like when it turns away from the light. It's the cast shadow. So like you can see my nose there is casting a shadow. So that's called a cast shadow, and Nonny's got a great cast shadow all the way down the side. But I'm not actually going to do it on the side. I'm just going to do it at the bottom to make it look like Nonny is sitting up. So I'm going to make, hopefully this will make those legs come forward. Hopefully this will make sense in a second. And it's a very good way to get your subject, that's the thing that you're drawing, to get it to sit properly on the paper, make it look solid. So this is called the cast shadow, and it's always darker closer to the object. You get a really dark bit in there where no light gets to it. There we are, and I'm going to put, again, we've got cast shadow in here. So you can kind of make this up if it's not there. You can design it yourself to be how you want your picture. But I think that'll do. I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see there. You can see that. Okay, so that is pretty much done from an ink point of view. I might just do a tiny bit of shadow here while the pen hasn't got much ink on it, and a little bit in here, just to show a little bit the form. There. And here, just to show how that's sitting under the trousers. Okay, and the rest is going to be done with the white pen. Okay, so I'm just going to rinse my pen off. I've got a little pot of, there we are, pot of water. Looks dirty, but it's just ink. And because the nib is metal, I will dry it off. And I won't use that again now until the title. Right. Now this is the point where I have a cold cup of tea. Cheers. And I just give it a minute to dry, and while I do that I'll show you the colours that I'm going to be using and the pencils. Oh good, I'm really happy if this is useful to you, that's brilliant. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to be doing is these stripes, when you have stripes in fabric, it's really helpful to an artist to show the direction of the folds, and I'm going to be using these a lot. And something I'm also going to be using is this lovely strong light, and that's very helpful for making the toy look 3D. So I'm going to be using a lighter red, so that's the red colour, for the stripes that are in the light, and I'm going to be using a white, this is a Faber-Castell pencil, so I'll use that between the stripes, and then in the shadow I'm going to leave the colour of the paper showing through because it's quite grey, and I'm going to use a darker colour. I might use like a dark, mid to dark brown, and although that's not the colour of the what we call the local colour is the colour of the actual object, so the brown isn't the local colour, but it will work anyway. I'm just looking to see in the light. I think it's dry now. It dries very quickly because the paper is absorbent. Okay, and I don't want to get any grease from my hands on the picture. So, right. So you can see this putty rubber, it's lovely and soft. You zoom in a little bit so you can see. You can focus the camera. Yeah. And it helps that I lightened those pencil lines before I did the ink. It means I haven't got a lot, don't need to rub very hard, but the pencil has got graphite in it, so if I don't rub it out it will make the colour look very dirty. Okay. Nearly done. Okay, so the next step, do you mean this one? This hand, it's because I'm pressing down on the paper, and although my hand is clean, it will have a little bit of grease on it. So I'm just using it so that when I'm pressing down, some artists have a special glove. You can get a glove with a couple of, it just does a couple of fingers, or does this bit, just to stop you transferring grease onto the paper. Okay, there we are. Right. Thank you. Oh, good. Right, so I'll just refocus. I've invested in this camera. It wasn't very expensive, but it's a manual focus, and I find it much better because sometimes I do this, and otherwise the camera kind of tries to focus in. Okay, right. So so now what I'm going to do is called blocking in. And where's my white pencil gone? Seem to have lost. Oh, here it is. Right. If you're using pencils like this, it's sometimes nice to put them on a bit of sandpaper, and it just roughs them up a bit because they can get quite shiny, and then the ink does, the pigment doesn't come off so well. Okay, and when you hold a pencil for writing, I'm guessing, I don't know if you hold it the same in Indonesia that we do, but we hold it like that. And when you're holding a pencil to draw with, it's a really good idea to try holding it like that. And then you move more from your arm, and it helps you, and particularly it's quite good to have a pencil holder. So it's like you artificially make your pencil longer. So I've got one of these, and you can put your pencil in there like that. So you can hold it even further away. And that's a really good tip for drawing. It feels very strange when you first start doing it, but if you look on YouTube at professional artists, that's very much what they do. They use for their brushes as well, they hold them at a distance. Okay, so to get back to Nonny, can you see there is a really clear border between the light and the dark on Nonny's face, and that is a very, very useful device to show the form of Nonny. So it's really helpful to show the shape of Nonny's cheek. So I'm not worrying too much about accuracy and neat lines, but I am trying to look for the shape of the skull. I know Nonny doesn't have a skull inside, but I always try and imagine the skull, and when I'm drawing people and dogs and things like that, I always try and look at the anatomy underneath. And obviously soft toys, they don't have a skeleton, but they do have structure, so this sort of thing is very useful for the structure. I wonder what you like to draw. Do you draw people, or what would you like to be able to draw? Or do you draw landscapes? Landscapes are beautiful they're beautiful subjects. Sometimes people like to start with that if they're learning. They're easier. Okay. It's very lucky that the paper is kind of the same colour as the shadow on Nonny. That's really a lucky accident. I am going to go in a little bit later with more texture, so I'll be using this one to show the fur texture. Right, so just keeping an eye generally. I'm going to put some markers in, so I know I've got a bit here, and I'm just looking for the easy pieces first, and then I'm going to judge the other shapes relative to those. So once I've got the easy ones in, it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. But these stripes are an absolute gift for showing material. Some artists, some famous old masters were brilliant with fabric, doing the folds in fabric. This will make more sense hopefully once the red is in. Okay, and this leg is in the light. And actually there's yeah, oh, you draw anime. Ah, right, okay, well you're way ahead of me then. I have never ever drawn an anime. They are amazing. They're very good for showing expression, aren't they? No, I'm not a teacher. Thank you though, that's a nice thing to say. No, I'm a mum with kids, and I used to be a computer programmer, but now I'm a full-time artist. I do oil paintings and things like that, so this is really just fun, and I'm really keen to try Twitch. So you'll have to give me some advice. Do you watch a lot of Twitch? Do you watch a lot of streamers? I'm guessing it must have been a bit strange to come on here and find you're the only person. There's a lot of artists doing anime, aren't there, on Twitch? Okay, so Nonny is starting to look, hopefully you think, a little bit more 3D. We've got some more white here, a little bit there, and there. So I do things like horse portraits and children. Your advice? Oh, thank you. You're so kind. So you're at school, are you? Oh, nice. I've got 3 children at school. We've just, in fact, here in England, because we've all been in lockdown with coronavirus, all the schools have been closed except to children of doctors and key workers. Has it been the same for you? Has your school been closed, or has it been open through the pandemic, I wonder? Yeah, so tomorrow the children are going back. Oh, your school is closed. All right. Well, my 3 children are going back to school tomorrow, so I think they're pretty excited. I'm excited for them. I think it's very difficult not seeing your friends, isn't it? We've had to just meet one friend at a time. Been a long time. Well, we've had lockdown for a few weeks now. This is our 3rd lockdown, so yes, it's still here, but it's much better than it was. How is it for you? Is there still a lot in Indonesia? Yeah, we have a lot of people sick, although the numbers are really going down now that the vaccinations. I had a vaccination a couple of days ago. Because I'm such an old lady, they're doing the old people first. Guess how old I am? What do you think? Yeah, so in England they're doing the old people first. And people who are not well, who have underlying health issues. 35. I can't bear to say it. I'm going to type it in. Really, I am. Right. So this This is, here we go, a nice, this is another Faber-Castell. They're really nice pencils. I don't know if you can see that. I'll type it in. Faber-Castell. And they're very popular polychromos pencils. Okay, so now I can put the red in and really start to show the folds. And so where the red is in the light areas between the white, I'm going to use this light red, and then when it's in the dark I'm going to use the brown, and hopefully that will work and they'll all join up. I'm slightly making it up, it doesn't have to be 100% right. Right, so that's the lighter red. You can see it doesn't take very long. It's not very far off finished. And I'll just show you so that's that. It's quite a dark brown. Want me to go in? I can go in a bit closer and then you can see better. But even though this isn't a very serious subject, you know, like a soft toy is a bit of a joke, the principles are the same. Come to Indonesia for a summer holiday. That would be lovely. I would really like that. Meet your mum. Right. So the just those little areas of shadow, hopefully that then makes a bit more sense, and it makes that those stripes look as though they are in shadow. I don't know if you think that's working. Hopefully you do. Right. Right, and now I can draw the lines in here as well. Trying to make sure that they don't join up too accurately between the waistband, so I want to show that the waistband is different to the so maybe this will help with your anime drawing. I hope so. You probably will find whatever you do, whatever drawing you do, and drawing is really good to learn even if you go into other things and painting and stuff later. Whatever you do, it all helps. So so I find doing this really helps my portrait drawing. So it helps me draw dogs and people. Right. I think those stripes are slightly thicker than I've got them. Okay, and I'm going to do Sadie's eyes. So they're like a kind of gingery brown colour. There. I'm going to go with a second one in a second. But these are quite sort of anime eyes, I think. They've got that big sad look. If I was just to put a little teardrop in them, then they'd look like anime. Maybe not, I expect you could do much better than me. Right. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of gold as well. I'm just using a kind of gingery gold colour for that stitching. Okay, now for the fun bit. So, this is a Uni Posca pen. So is this the one that you said you use for calligraphy, or is it one of these? I wonder what sort of calligraphy as well. Is it writing calligraphy? Right. So I'm just testing this on my scrap paper just to make sure it's coming out, but not too strong. Sometimes they can be a bit blobby. What, this one? This one? You mean that? With the ink? Ah, okay. And is that writing that you do, like your handwriting? Right, yeah, okay, nice. Well, maybe I can show you a little bit of my calligraphy after this, if you're interested. You probably ought to go to bed. I don't know what time it is there. What's the weather like in Indonesia at the moment? Al-Quran. Al-Quran. Ah. I bet that's amazing. I'd love to see it. Calligraphy is really nice for settling your mind, isn't it? I find it's really nice and calming if you're feeling a bit anxious. Maybe Nonny should do a bit of calligraphy if Nonny is such a worrier. Right, I don't know if you can actually see this. The light isn't very good. I'm just doing there's just a bit of texture on there, like that. Just where the it catches the light, and also it's quite useful when you're breaking up. I can go much closer actually. There we are. You can see then, and I'll focus. Oh, there we are. Oh, thanks. It does make a difference, doesn't it? I think it's because I'm just keeping it right on the edge where the light hits. So some people they fill it in a lot, but if you keep it on the edge, when a form turns round, you get like a very pronounced light on. It depends on the sort of light, but you get a lot of light there, a lot of dark there, and then the middle can be quite flat. But oh, I'm really glad you like it. Thank you. Nice to have your company. It's very nice not to be talking to myself. Okay. Yeah, and then this white pen is stronger than the ink, so I can actually also use it to clean up some of the ink lines if they're not quite right. It's very handy for that. And yeah, you can see that right, I think, hopefully. Right, and I'll just move down and do those feet. So I'm particularly focusing on that top edge where the light will catch. And this here. So I'm using it really to describe the form. And the same on this one. And this is where it's really nice to be using a darker paper So this grey paper is very useful. Doesn't have to be any special grey paper. Right, let's zoom out a bit. So if you're around on Wednesday, Nonny will be the toy of the week. So I will be finishing the picture off on Wednesday on YouTube and on Twitch. Right, so here's the picture of Nonny. Now we're going to do two things to this picture. We haven't got long. Number one is I am going to take on board some feedback that Nonny's head is looking a little bit narrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this white pen and I'm going to widen Nonny's head, not too much, just a fraction, and I hope very much we can do it a little bit more if necessary, but I hope very much that will make Nonny in the picture. You can see it doesn't take much. It's very easy when you're making corrections to overdo it and to panic. You need to stay calm and think about the options that you've got. There we go. So Nonny's head is just not over corrected, just a tiny, and actually that's given a nice little sense of light, so much so that I think I might just do a little bit more down this side too. And do you know what I didn't do? I didn't test my pen on that paper. Wasn't that lucky that that blob didn't happen again? Okay, and I've had some really lovely feedback in the chat. Thank you to Nonny's people who've said it looks just like Nonny and you've captured his poor little anxious soul. Dearest Nonny, I think you've soothed his spirit. I hope so. Okay, so the show is done and I'm just doing the last finishing touches. The ink is dry and I'm going to use my putty rubber to rub out the line. I did a line just to track the title along, so just get rid of that. There we go, and last but not least is signing. Obviously very important to sign your work. I'm gonna I find it quite good to practice, just make sure it's the pencil's working properly. And just a discreet signature, but very important when you're producing original work. It's really nice for both your own records and for the person who eventually has the work, for them to see that it was by your hand. Okay, and last of all, I colour in the hearts, so I'm going to colour this one in white, and white like Nonny's fur. There we go. Using my pencil extender, very handy. Okay, and I've put this picture in a frame. It doesn't have any glass at the moment. I just do that because it's really oh, my pencil's rolling. It's just nice to photograph work without the glass. So top tip, if you're photographing work to show on Instagram or wherever you like to show your work, or to send to a customer, then if you do it without the glass, they can see what it's going to look like in the frame, and obviously you don't get any glare. But once the frame is in, it's almost impossible to take a decent photo. Okay, so there you are, finished picture. Whoopsie, my camera slipped. Finished picture of Nonny. There we go. Right, well, I hope that was useful, and I'd love to see what you've managed, and please join us on the live stream. It's a lot of fun, very arty, and there's some calligraphy and other exciting things. So we'd love to hear from you. We're on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Okay, take care. Happy drawing. Bye.